This is it. I'm setting myself a 2-year mission to make this channel work. Hello everybody, your favorite, most consistent YouTuber here. Consistency. Fucking consistency. So, it's been a while, again, and I have once again returned. Again. Yeah, this really is a cycle, isn't it? But not this time. This time I plan on staying, actually. Spoiler alert. Prepare yourselves. Yeah, I have disappeared for some time again, haven't I? Because the last time I was uploading consistently... Wow, man, I never did upload consistently. But, you know, back when I was making like, what was it? Like the Hell Ever series, I think. It has been quite a while. And, you know, I'm gonna give you a little update on where I've been and when we're gonna go. Sounds simple enough? Thank you. Let's do that. So, what happened before? Well, I finished my internship and with that have finished my high school. Well, how's high school? No, what's the German equivalent? Like what it's called? Let me look it up. High school or grammar school? Really? High school? In English, gymnasium translates to high school. Particularly in the context of German educational system. Wasn't there like a different word? Like, wasn't it like something like, academic high school? Something like that? Maybe it's the same. But you know, the German's gonna know what I'm talking about when I say gymnasium, right? Hell on earth. Just kidding. Well, for me at least. So, right, so I've been going to that place, and instead of doing like the normal, like, not like, you don't say like graduation, what's, oh my god, I need to do a lot of Googling and we haven't even started. High school diploma. Interesting. High school diploma, you say? Ah yes, the general qualification of university entrance. High school graduation. Yeah, let's go with high school graduation, I think. So as said, I was going to high school, and instead of like doing the normal high school graduation with, you know, with the big final exam at the end, which you usually get, I went a different route and actually did a 1-year internship. And just for reference, the 1-year internship was basically around the time I was doing like my Pal World streams, which was in the winter, because, you know, once summer rolled around, I was busy grinding away at my job that I had, well, you know, as an internship dude. So, yeah. That's why in the summer you also didn't see many uploads, because many times I actually took like about a month just to bring out a single video because of just how stretched thin I was. And yes, that has now been a whole year since the internship has ended. And ever since then, you know, once I was finished with the internship, I basically had like the full graduation of like high school, right? Because of all the previous school years, I had like the school part, and I had like the practical part, so to say, with the internship, because the internship is like an obligatory in practice type of part of the graduation. You can basically imagine the graduation being set up from the like the, what was it, the 11th class, if you want to translate it like that, 11th grade, and stitched together with like the practical part of the internship. So when I like got done with my internship, I was basically all done with school, but that was not it at all, because there was still a lot of happening even after I finished with school, because, you know, I've had to go a little bit through a difficult time. You know, just a very messy transitional phase is basically what it was. So yes, I finished internship. I then actually went ahead to reorganize my life, which was, you know, first of all, recovering from all the years of sleep deprivation that I kind of like induced onto myself with all this school stress, and, well, to be honest, maybe also like a lack of self-discipline. It's possible. It was a very messy time for me. in high school. A very messy one. Not a beautiful one. No, definitely not beautiful. But yeah, a lot of sleep deprivation. Even during my internship, I had like a little bit of issues with sleep deprivation because I was doing so much during the time, but I still tried to fit in YouTube work alongside a like kind of like a full-time job, which I was doing as an internship worker. And yeah, it was messy. So yeah, but I am happy to report that sleep is getting better, man. It is significantly improved. I have been working on a lot, which is what I want to go back to, because basically, as said, as soon as the internship was over, and with that also the whole high school thing, I basically went ahead and the first thing I really did was restructuring my life. I was trying to establish schedules. You know, I am now sitting on like my 4th version of like my personally created schedule, because I had to reiterate and see what works and doesn't work. And so we had that, sleep deprivation, family drama. I'm not gonna get into that. I will not. And responsibilities, generally speaking. But throughout all that, I did not give up on what I really wanted to do, which was this YouTube right here. Because, you know, with all the inconsistent uploads that I was experiencing, because you've kind of like understand like that I really wanted to do consistent content here on YouTube, but I never really managed to do that. Not because I was like bad at editing or like, you know, I also used to think that I needed some time, which honestly was kind of like partially the problem. Like, you know, where, you know, I had like a little bit of problems with like perfectionism and like tweaking some things that most people wouldn't even notice afterwards. That was also the case, but most of the time it was really just because I did not really have much time, like ever. During high school, there's always something going on. Class tests, homework, shitload of things, obligations. My schedule was very full back then. And it was a very messy time. And when internship rolled around, it got, you know, slightly better, but I spent a lot of time just, you know, working. And like the work was actually set quite central in the day, right? In the way that you couldn't really do anything before going to work or really after work, because after work you would just come home extremely exhausted because, you know, it was, you know, a physically demanding job. So most of the time I would come back and I would try to force myself a bit to grind, but most of the time I usually just had to kind of like wind down and not really have much energy or time left to really work on videos. And now I've kind of like reached a point where I finally have, you know, after going through the whole messy chunk of this messy transitional phase and kind of like rearranging basically everything in life, because a lot of things have been happening and many things were kind of like new that I had to set up. I now finally have the time to actually sit down and commit myself to working on YouTube consistently. But that also kind of like was a little bit of, you know, it was something that I had to kind of like figure out for myself, you know, because in the transitional phase, I was really asking myself whether I really want to go down the, you know, the traditional path like everyone else is, which is, you know, going into further education, like for example, into, you know, or terms, it's basically like university or like a higher education institution, basically. But, you know, I did look at a few options, and none of those options really clicked for me, despite looking at quite a few of them. And, you know, I just didn't really want to go into the whole studying thing. Not because I was lazy, but because I just felt like it was not my thing, basically. And the next big question, of course, was if I'm not gonna go down the traditional path, what am I gonna do then? Obviously, I'm gonna have to do something. And before that, YouTube basically was just a hobby for me. Because I was basically forced to have it as a hobby, right? Because I was not capable of doing this consistently because of just how much obligations I had back in the day. But now I basically reached a decision that I would actually go ahead and try to commit myself to doing YouTube on a very consistent basis. And that's actually going to be my next point, which is this, the 2-year plan. I've been yapping a lot, haven't gotten to what it is. Don't worry, I'll talk about it now. So what is this 2-year plan all about? Well, as I've just talked about, after all the school things and, inspecting like higher education, institutions and like realizing that it wasn't really my thing, I have now kind of like been spending a lot of time reorganizing everything just to make, accommodate this 2-year plan, basically. That's all I've been working the past months basically on. Setting up structure, safety nets, personally for me, with like, insurances and staying afloat financially for like my personal expenses, which are small, But yes, the final decision basically is for the next 2 years, I plan to just lock in fully on YouTube, which is a very great commitment, I know. And I'm going to give it my best because that's all I've been doing the past months, preparing for this. So what is the goal of this 2-year plan? Well, essentially, it's basically trying to go ahead and make this, try and make this channel sustainable so that I could do this long term. And like, I know that's like no small feat and that a lot of work has to be put into it, but I am ready to make that investment. Because that, I've been, as said, working the past few months on preparation, and you actually have to go ahead and kind of like look at where this channel currently is, right? Not many subscribers, right? But a few videos already managed to kind of like really, take off. And, that was basically proof that there is the possibility of reaching audiences. And, we've come so far, I think I talked like about this in a previous update video, that we have kind of like reached, that we already have achieved monetization on this channel. I think it was after it was like that War Thunder anime pillow video, I think it was, which you like blew up with the 1.2 million views. That's basically when I achieved monetization, because it was kind of like the big final push that I needed to have to, get the threshold for getting the YouTube Partner Program requirements being met. And now that we have achieved monetization on this channel, it's now about scaling with consistent uploads. Now, what does consistency mean? Well, in my plan, it is having, ideally speaking, it's having 1 to 2 uploads a week. Now, I don't want to promise you things too early because, I have I have to get back into editing. I have, get back into recording. I probably have to relearn a few things, because I think quite a lot of areas have become quite dusty, but I think we'll get there, especially now that I have the structure set up and everything I basically need in place. It should be possible. So yeah, at the beginning, don't really expect that consistency to, work flawlessly, because I probably think that I need to, first set up like a little bit of structure and like refreshing things mentally when it comes to video editing. But if I stick to my current schedule, it should be, not absolutely possible, but it's manageable, I would say. Yeah, because, I still have not tested on how much I can produce in what time frame, because as I said, back in the day when I was busy all the time, I managed to bring out a video a month. Now that I have this structure, I have yet to find out how fast I can bring out videos with this new schedule in place. Maybe it's going to be 1 video a week, maybe it's going to be 2 videos a week. I don't know. We'll just have to find out. I really hope that we'll get out of the old production rate, which is like 1 video a month. But, you know, having something weekly would be absolutely amazing as a, like, consistency goal. And, like, I really want this to work out, you know? I just really hope that it's gonna work out, like, with the consistency and all that. Maybe I'll need to keep myself accountable somehow. I don't know, if I fail to be consistent, feel free to throw a fridge at me or something. And, you know, lastly, when it comes to the 2-year plan, is the thing, what happens after the 2 years? I have set myself up, you know, a few, like, milestones and basically targets for this channel in, like, how it could potentially be declared as successful. But, you know, depending on whether or not we reach it, I would, at the end of the 2 years, basically do a assessment of everything, essentially, and look if, you know, this worked out or not. And, you know, it would be great if it would work out. You know, I'm optimistic. But if it should not work out, that's also fine. Because even if I should fail, I at least had, like, the opportunity to really, you know, how am I supposed to say this? To really, like, work myself off creatively, so to say. Because for a long time, I had, like, many ideas written down on my silly to-do list, and the list was just getting longer and longer, but I couldn't really execute any of these videos because I was just constantly busy with other stuff. And, you know, that really just frustrated me quite a lot. So yes, no matter how this big experiment's gonna go, it's gonna be a win either way. Each in its own way, but just getting these ideas, you know, that potential actually developed and released, and actually seeing how it performs, is a win on it. A win on its own. What's wrong with me? I'm excited. And just to clarify again, this isn't just about, you know, making money here with the platform. I mean, money is nice, don't get me wrong, but there's more to that, obviously, because it's about finally having the freedom to create without being held back from, like, all the obligations that I had previously. And also, you need to understand that, you know, I wanted to do YouTube for a long time, right? I've been uploading since, what was it, like 2018 or something? But it basically goes back to elementary school, essentially, because I still can remember how I was sitting in the classroom and thinking about the very same thought, which was that I really had, like, this desire to, like, set up a community. I don't know why it was, like, specifically that. I guess maybe it was, like, the loneliness back in the day. Maybe it was, like, a genuine the desire to connect with people. I don't really know what sparked that desire, but ever since, I've really just been carrying that desire within me, and I know it's possible, right? Because I don't dream of being a YouTuber, I am a YouTuber. But I just need the structure and time in order to make it work. So yeah, my main motivation basically was, and, you know, hopefully still is, that I just really always kind of, like, wanted to build a community here, you know, because I guess I'm the most familiar with YouTube, but I mean, YouTube is a good platform compared to others, you know. So yeah, basically, point is, I've always wanted to build a community. Not just anywhere, but here, right here. And as said, I've already put serious prep work into all this with, like, schedule, goals, You know, I got myself a mini job to keep myself afloat for, you know, stability and like keeping like the minimal expenses, you know, insurances and subscriptions going for myself. As said, a lot of work has been put into it. I have not been slacking the past few months. And yeah, I've been grinding endlessly, but absolutely worth it. I would say absolutely worth it. Because honestly, I'm really like... Honestly, I'm just really proud of myself how far I've come. Because my to-do lists for setting everything up used to be very long. So yes, this is a big experiment, and you know, depending on things, you know, depending on how things go, it may or may not fail. But, and this is a big but, I have never been more ready than I am right now. Period. So is there anything else to say? Ah, yes. In the time of my absence, you know, during my setup phase, we've actually, like, you know, this channel received its first ever copyright strike. But don't worry, it's been so long that the copyright strike already has expired. Just for context, what it was basically a meme video. You know, it was the meme video with the Abrams tank. Didn't have that many views, but apparently the copyright strike wasn't because of the music, it was because of the video. I was not expecting that, but I guess I have it now mentioned. And, you know, just about, like, you know, this announcement video itself, I also wanted to mention that I already saw, like, previously, I saw, like, also, like, smaller channels here on YouTube also, like, making the same type of announcement where they were basically talking about, yes, guys, I'm gonna try and go ahead and upload a video every week. They make that announcement, and the moment they make that announcement, they disappear again. Now, I don't want to blame or shame or make fun of these people, because I understand, right? If you don't have structure, if you don't have time, if you have obligations, it is incredibly difficult to keep up with that own made-up plan. I do understand that. And why do I mention this? Well, you know, I definitely don't want to end up like those creators, because I really hope that with all the prep that I've put into this now, that it's actually gonna work out. Like, I cannot emphasize this enough. I've done so much prep. You do not believe. If this is not gonna work out, I don't know what is. So I ask you, are you ready to go with me on this adventure? Are you ready for me, well, hopefully, becoming consistent? Because I'm not ready for this. No, I am ready. I am ready. Okay, I am ready. I just never experienced it before. The excitement. It's so exciting. So let's make it official. This is day 1 of the 2-year plan. Let's do this.